"2018 has been a standout year for US natural gas exports. Will this rate of growth continue?"
I'm very optimistic. The U.S. has been going through a shale revolution over the last decade, and even across the world, there's a great deal of demand for LNG, for gas, in Europe, in Asia. There's a need for it in Africa. In fact, literally in many places throughout the world. So I think that's going to continue. And then for the United States, we used to be an importer, and now we're an exporter. But with the price of LNG being like $11 or something in Europe, in Asia it's like $13. There's a need for the diversification of supply as well as infrastructure. So I only see the future as being much, much brighter.
How is your government continuing to aid in the vast growth in natural gas commerce?
I was in the legislature before I became mayor of the city of Houston, and the legislature, for example, in Texas, is encouraging the development of the shale revolution. So that speaks. That's very positive. We want to see it continue. We appreciate the fact that we are now an exporter. From a security point of view for the United States, that's a huge plus. From an economic point of view, for places like Texas, like Houston, that's huge. And then it's not, when you're talking about LNG, it's not talking just about building a facility, it's the infrastructure. And so what you're finding, cities are not putting bureaucratic hurdles in place, making it much easier, for example, to build the infrastructure, to build the facilities. It's not Houston, for example, is not a city with a lot of regulations. So in that way, I think we're being very, very, very supportive. And then at the same time, Houston is the energy capital of the world, but we also want to encourage clean energy. So from an environmental point of view, LNG, use of natural gas, is also an additional tool when you start talking about cleaning the environment, working with renewables, and other things as well.
With the second wave of LNG now starting, what is driving this growth?
Supply. The diversification of supply. So when you look at Europe, for example, I think it's important for everyone to have multiple suppliers, to have options. Okay, I think that's important. And then, of course, what drives some of this is pricing, because so much of LNG is tied to the price of oil. That says that if the demand is high, the supply is limited, prices are going to go up. And so there is a need. Throughout the world, there's a push for a cleaner environment, cleaner fuel source. So you're having that decarbonization. All of those elements are driving it.
The US and the EU have released a joint statement addressing the new, stronger cooperation in energy. How will this help diversify the market?
Big plus, because it gives them the markets in EU, where it provides additional options. You don't have to just rely on one or two sources. Okay. Certainly the U.S., we have the supply. We're an exporter. The EU is looking for sellers, okay? And we are providing the EU with some additional choices. That is always good. From a security point of view for the EU, that's a plus. To help to drive down the cost of LNG, when you have additional suppliers, that's a plus. For the end user, the cost would be less. So I think the relationship between the U.S. and the EU is a very positive one.
GasTech is coming to Houston for 2019. Why should industry players attend the event?
First, let me just acknowledge the GasTech conference here in Barcelona. Preparations have been outstanding. It's been well done, well organized, good attendance. Houston, we're the energy capital of the world. 40 of the 134 publicly traded oil and gas companies are located right in the city of Houston. There are more than 700 exploration companies, firms, right there in the city of Houston. I'm the mayor of the city of Houston. I'm excited about being there to host the GasTech in 2019. We want to provide that forum, that venue. So I think it'll be an exciting time.